Well, if you're like me, you're 2 weeks into your New Year's resolution right about now. How's that going for you? You want to find out a little bit more about that and other things about a social trap? Hey, stay tuned. I'm Mr. E. This is MysterE's Mysteries. We are going to be exploring all things mysterious in the world of psychology. We talk about New Year's resolutions. New Year's resolutions, we oftentimes throw our heart and soul into them. We have all of these grand reasons for doing them. We're going to improve our mental health. We're going to improve our physical health. We're going to decrease our anxiety and our stress. And we make all of these major life changes that in the short run, okay, they might make us feel really good. But ultimately, we're not remotely prepared to make that many changes. And in the end, we can actually have kind of a negative bit of a response to it. A couple examples. Somebody who's never going to eat carbs ever again. Yeah, they don't eat carbs for 2 weeks. And then after that, it's just carbo loading. It is like they're running a marathon a day, right? Okay. Or the person that's going to do dry January. You do dry January, there's no drinking. Hey, I made it to, 30 days has September, April, June. So the 31st of January, you get to January 1st at midnight, you just start pounding. And next thing you know, you're drinking more than you were drinking before dry January. So you go through all of these things where, you want to benefit yourself, but those benefits are oftentimes, they kind of lead to the short-term benefits, but in the long term, they don't pay off. So there's something called a social trap, which is similar to this. It's going to be much more mixed with blends of people working against each other or for each other, that sort of thing. But these things happen all the time. But ultimately, what it is, a social trap, is you act to gain short-term benefits, but end up causing long-term losses for your group or your society. So when we were talking more about long-term losses for yourself individually. But with social trap, we're going to talk about long-term losses to a group or to society. Great example. I'm going to tell you something. When you look at the government shutdown, every couple months, Congress is facing this government shutdown, because each group is looking for their own personal best interests, what's going to benefit them the most. And ultimately, they're at this constant battle. And then who ultimately ends up paying the price? The workers, right? Everybody else. Yeah. Society, right? And, this happens over and over again. It's like we don't learn. Like, let's just keep looking out for ourselves. And then ultimately, in the long run, we're getting ripped off for one reason or another, right? It sucks, right? You look at consuming natural resources is another great one. We consume natural resources for energy, right? We need energy for various things. And we constantly think about how it's going to benefit us at this particular moment, but we don't think about possibly some of the long-term environmental crises that us or future generations could face. That would be another example. Another one environmentally would be overfishing. So when groups overfish, they overfish certain lakes. Those lakes could be depleted for generations, where you have 2 to 3 generations where there are no fish to catch. And many groups that rely on that fishing for their livelihood, for food and for profit, they ultimately pay for that. They long term, that is going to kind of negate some of those short-term benefits. And then one that we've all been grappling with lately, and that is inflation. And I'm not going to get into the nuances of the economics behind it because I'm not an economist. I'm a psychology teacher. But inflation is connected to a social trap. And what I mean by that is you have, and it's kind of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You have, and I'm not saying that the demanding of high wages comes first, but let's just start there. You have a demand for higher wages for lots of different reasons, but you have a demand for high wages. When you have a demand for higher wages, the employees that are hiring these people now need to inflate their prices, which means now the prices for goods is higher. Okay. And once the prices for goods become higher, then you want or you need higher wages once again. Higher wages leads to higher prices. Higher prices leads to higher wages. And it's a big cyclical sort of event. And this example of a social trap is just one of the many things that we experience both socially, culturally, economically within our society is this constant quest for these short-term benefits and gains for me, but ultimately long-term it's going to harm not only me, but it could harm society as a whole. So those are just a few examples. I mean, you go ahead and just think about your own walk of life and you could probably see many, many different examples of that. You have two kids that are vying for the same toy, right? Two of your son and your daughter, they all both want the same toy. They freak out about the same toy because they both want that. In the short term, guess what? Neither one of them gets the toy. They both get put in timeout, and it doesn't benefit either one of them. And so we could go on and on with these examples, but part of my spiel here is to just give you enough to make you want to go explore and look for more. And so if you have some other examples, please let us know. One of the things so this is very much an economic principle as well. There's been like things like game theory, John Nash with the Nash equilibrium and other entities of economic lingo out there that has used the social trap without calling it a social trap. Games that they put together was the prisoner's dilemma. And so they would put two economists in a room together and they would be prisoners and they would give them hundreds of scenarios, right? And these prisoners, these economists, would need to decide, are they going to work together? And in working together, what you have is something called a superordinate goal. And that can bring two warring factions together to raise up their own long-term benefits, or a social trap where the two individual prisoners, they have their own plan. They're not going to divert from that plan because it's going to benefit them in the short term, but in the long term, they both end up being harmed. So that's a prisoner's dilemma. Super, super interesting stuff. Like I said, we don't have time to dive into this into like deep, dark rabbit holes. And believe me, I have, and believe me, you could. So you know what? Go ahead and explore this social trap on your own. Explore game theory, explore the prisoner's dilemma. Just check them out and let me know what you think in any of the comments. But make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify or on Apple, anywhere that you can find podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Reels. Give us some likes. All right. A big thank you to Unify Agency and Bear Wade for everything that he does for us. If you want to become an influencer, you want to start podcasts, anything like that, Unify Agency is the place to go through. Trust me. All right. You all have a great day. This is MysterE with MysterE's Mysteries. We'll see you.